I've been staring at my notes for weeks, trying to figure out how to talk about what I'm seeing happen to an entire generation of men without stepping on a landmine. But here's the thing. While I've been hesitating, millions of guys are quietly drowning in a crisis that nobody wants to acknowledge. And it's not just affecting them, it's creating a domino effect that's leaving record numbers of women single, confused, and wondering where all the emotionally available men went. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you exactly what's happening to the modern man's psychology, why it's creating what experts are calling the relationship recession, and most importantly, what both men and women can do about it before it's too late. Let me start with something that happened to me last week. I was at a coffee shop, and I overheard 3 women in their late 20s talking about dating. One of them said, "I feel like I'm competing with Instagram models, video games, and podcasts for a man's attention, and somehow I'm losing to all 3. That conversation stuck with me because it perfectly captures what I've been seeing in my practice. We're living through the most connected time in human history, yet people are more isolated than ever. And nowhere is this more obvious than in what's happening to modern masculinity. If this content resonates with you, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell, because what I'm about to share challenges everything we think we know about relationships in 2025. The crisis. Here's what the data is telling us. And it's frankly terrifying. According to the latest research from the Institute for Family Studies, 60% of men between 18 to 30 report feeling invisible in the dating market. That's not just feeling rejected, that's feeling like they don't even register as potential partners. Meanwhile, suicide rates among young men have skyrocketed 45% since 2010. And here's the kicker. The same demographic reporting the highest levels of loneliness are also consuming the most relationship advice content online. They're desperately trying to figure out what's wrong, but instead of getting better, they're getting more confused. But here's what really caught my attention. A 2024 study found that 70% of single women aged 25-35 say they're open to dating, but only 40% of single men in the same age group are actively looking for relationships. Think about that for a second. We have more single women who want relationships than we have men who are even trying. This isn't just a dating problem. This is a psychological crisis masquerading as a relationship issue. The root cause. So what's actually happening to modern men psychologically? I believe it comes down to what I call the triple bind. 3 competing pressures that are literally rewiring how men think about themselves and relationships. First, there's the achievement paradox. Men are told they need to be successful to be attractive, but the definition of success keeps changing faster than they can adapt. Yesterday, it was having a stable job. Today, it's being an entrepreneur, having 6-pack abs, emotional intelligence, and making 6 figures. The goalposts aren't just moving, they're multiplying. Second, there's the vulnerability trap. Modern men are told to be more emotionally open, but when they actually show vulnerability, they often experience what I call emotional punishment, being seen as weak, needy, or unattractive. So they're caught between suppressing their emotions and being called toxic, or expressing them and being called weak. Third, there's the competition overload. Social media has turned dating into a 24/7 comparison game where every man is competing not just with the guys in his town, but with influencers, celebrities, and carefully curated highlight reels from around the world. The result? A generation of men who are simultaneously overconfident and underconfident, aggressive and withdrawn, trying everything and giving up on everything. The women's side. Now, before I go further, let me address something crucial. This isn't about blaming women for men's problems, but we need to acknowledge how these changes are affecting women too. I regularly hear from successful women who say something like, "I've got my career together, my finances sorted, my emotional intelligence developed, So why do I keep attracting men who seem to have none of those things? Here's what's happening. As women have rightfully gained more independence and raised their standards, many men haven't evolved at the same pace. Instead of rising to meet these new expectations, many have either retreated entirely or become resentful about the new rules. This creates what I call the supply and demand mismatch. There's a growing pool of emotionally intelligent, financially independent women, but a shrinking pool of men who can match that energy. It's not that men are inherently less capable, it's that many haven't adapted to what modern relationships actually require. The technology trap. But here's where it gets really insidious. Technology was supposed to make dating easier, but it's actually making it psychologically harder for men in ways we're just beginning to understand. Dating apps have gamified relationships in a way that particularly affects male psychology. Men are wired to solve problems and achieve goals, but dating apps create a system where 80% of men are competing for 20% of the attention. It's like designing a video game where most players can never win, no matter how hard they try. Meanwhile, pornography and social media have created what researchers call artificial intimacy. Men are getting their emotional and physical needs met through screens, reducing their motivation to develop real-world relationship skills. And here's the cruel irony. The more men consume this artificial intimacy, the less capable they become of creating genuine intimacy with real women. It's a psychological death spiral that's happening on a massive scale. The psychological impact. What does this look like psychologically? I'm seeing patterns in my practice that are genuinely concerning. There's what I call preemptive rejection syndrome. Men who reject women before women can reject them. They've been hurt or ignored so many times that they've developed a defensive mechanism where they sabotage potential relationships before they can be disappointed. Then there's success anxiety. Men who are terrified of being successful because they are afraid women will only want them for their achievements, not for who they are. But they're equally terrified of not being successful because they think women won't want them at all. And perhaps most damaging is emotional paralysis. Men who want to be vulnerable and emotionally available, but have been punished for it so many times that they literally don't know how to access their own feelings anymore. The result is a generation of men who are simultaneously desperate for connection and terrified of it. The solution framework. Okay, so we've identified the problem. What's the solution? For men, it starts with what I call internal validation recovery. You need to stop trying to become what you think women want and start becoming who you actually are. The most attractive thing about a man isn't his success or his confidence. It's his authenticity. Women can sense when you're performing versus when you're being genuine. Here's a practical exercise. For the next week, instead of trying to impress women, focus on expressing your genuine interests, opinions, and values. You'll be shocked at how much more attractive you become when you stop trying to be attractive. Second, develop what I call emotional courage. This isn't about becoming more vulnerable. It's about becoming more emotionally intelligent. Learn to identify your feelings, understand what triggers them, and communicate them clearly without dumping them on other people. For women, the solution involves what I call standards calibration. Having high standards is absolutely your right, but make sure your standards are about character and compatibility, not just achievement and appearance. The goal is to find someone who enhances your life, not someone who looks good on your Instagram. The real-world approach. Here's something both men and women need to hear. Online dating is broken for most people. It's designed to keep you using the app, not to help you find love. If you're serious about finding a real relationship, you need to get back to real-world interactions. Join communities based on your actual interests. Take classes, volunteer, Go to events where you can have actual conversations with people. The magic happens in face-to-face interactions where people can experience your energy, your humor, your intelligence, and your character. Things that can't be conveyed through a profile picture and a witty bio. And here's the secret that dating apps don't want you to know. Most people are way more attractive in person than they are online. That includes you. The mindset shift. Remember this, you're not competing with everyone. You're looking for one person who appreciates exactly who you are. All the Instagram models, all the successful entrepreneurs, all the seemingly perfect people online. None of that matters when you meet someone who gets you. The relationship recession is real, but it's not permanent. It's a cultural moment that requires us to be more intentional, more authentic, and more patient than previous generations had to be. If this video resonated with you, I want to hear about it in the comments. What part of the modern dating landscape frustrates you most? And if you found this helpful, make sure to subscribe, because I'm going to keep diving deep into the psychology behind modern relationships. Your person is out there. They're probably watching this video too. Do not give up on love. Just give up on the broken systems that are supposed to help you find it.